All right. Ready to race also means ready to be worked on. From the time I started shooting that video till the time I stopped, got the air boot out, was maybe 15 minutes, and that's working slow. But it's just knowing what you need to do to flip the end of the bike up to be able to access the shock and the throttle body and the air boot. If you try to wrestle in one of these air boots without flipping the back of the bike up, you're in for a treat. As intimidating as it might be to loosen the two top subframe bolts and take out the bottom subframe bolts, the amount of hassle and the amount of time that it'll save you, it's just unbelievable. So here are the two boots next to each other. It's the US boot on the left that holds the intake reeds. I still have them somewhere in the box, even though they're worthless. That's part of motorcycling, is you keep every little bitty tiny thing, because why not? On the right is the Euro boot. I bought it from a company here in the US. I'd have to go back through my emails to see who it is or who it was. If you Google search the parts, it'll come right up. You can find them domestically now. For the set, it's the air boot and the air horn. Was about 71 bucks. It took about 2 weeks to get here, which is fine. It did ship from in the US. So for $70, you have a pretty good option as far as a different air boot goes. I'm gonna flip them over and we can take a look and see exactly what we're working with and what we're getting. But you can see on the back that the profiles are very similar. They're almost identical. And that's to clear the PDS shock. If you have a shock with a linkage, the shock is more vertical, so you have more room for the airbox. Those boots will work. You need to use a heat gun and mold some stuff and push it to get some clearancing. It's up to you. Let's flip these over and see where the real differences are. The inside profile is basically the same until you get over to the actual air inlet. This is the US style boot. It just has a giant square hole and a pretty abrupt taper down to the diameter of the throttle body. So you're going to lose some air velocity, one, because the diameter is so much larger than the throttle body opening. Two, it's just not a real good shape. And then right there where it makes the transition to the throttle body opening is just, it's just garbage. It's going to cause a lot of turbulence and really mess up airflow. So this is what you get when you take the boot or take the reeds out of a US style intake. You get a big ugly square hole. I'm not going to argue against putting some device in there to smooth it out. It will definitely affect and shape airflow, whether that's a positive, whether that's a net positive gain or a loss or some combination of losses and gains. It just is what it is. I have a baseline dyno of my bike with this opening the way it is. So I'll have something good to compare against when I use the Euro boot. So let's switch over to that one. Here you can see the shape is much better on the inlet, but there's this ridge, this 90-degree ridge that runs all around the inside. That's just the positive stop for this air horn. So this air horn rests up against that positive stop. It also has a lip around the edge to lock into this receiving groove on the inlet of the air boot. So these two fit together. It's pretty cool. It just pops in. You'll feel it snap into place when that lip fits into that receiver groove. Down here at the bottom, there is a little hole. There is a self-tapping screw that goes in from the outside to secure the air horn to the inside. So you have this removable air horn now. It's got a good taper. I mean, ideally, mathematically, you want 7 degrees. That's the one that maintains the most laminar airflow and keeps the boundary layers from separating. It keeps turbulence down because you don't have any sharp transitions or juts or edges. The edges of the air horn are belled, so that allows it to pull air from the backside and move it into the main column with less turbulence and less flow separation. So overall, it's a pretty good design. This is how the 450s are, some of the other competition bikes. The good thing is you could profile this air horn, or take it to someone who 3D prints, have them profile the air horn, and then you could work on a few different designs. Typically, the longer the air horn is, the higher the velocity at lower flow, so you would get, you know, increases in low range and middle range torque. The way this one is set up with the taper and the length, I think it's geared pretty good towards middle range and high end, but the only way to know is to throw it on a dyno and check it. So I may be headed back to the dyno to see what this does. But yeah, once you flip the back of the bike up, just held it in place with a little ratchet strap. It makes accessing and installing and removing this boot so much easier. If you try to do it any other way, just you're in for a world of frustration. So that's kind of it on this air boot. Oh, up here up top is the breather hose that connects to the crankcase. You'll just transfer yours over. The air intake temp sensor on these 24s, my bike is a 24, actually sits on the far end of the air box. I don't know if we can see it here. No, we can't see it. But yeah, that's pretty much it for swapping over the air box or getting access to it, putting in the Euro boot. There's just no way it doesn't make gains. It's just not. I don't know, I could be wrong though. But just looking at that taper right there in that transition, I mean, that can't be great. I may go back to the dyno, put it on the dyno, see what it does, just kind of prove it out. But that's it. I got the bike up and torn apart. I'm gonna put the camera back up, shoot another time lapse. I'm gonna take the valve cover off, check my valves, they're a little clacky, adjust the valves and see how that goes.